How's it going, everyone? This is Soul Cinched here, and welcome for my review of Battlebots Season 6, Episode 6. I'm getting to this a little bit late, and I don't really have a whole lot of time, so we're just going to get straight into the fights. But if you want to know, if you didn't watch my predictions video, I got 5 of the fights correct, and I got 2 of them incorrect. But first fight of the match, we had Rotator versus Black Dragon. This was about as stereotypical as it could have went. Rotator, durable as ever, delivering power shots the entire time. Black Dragon, getting a few shots in there, then burning up in smoke, and somehow surviving being smoking for half the fight. Last season, Black Dragon won most of its matches by doing just enough to win, and there were multiple occasions where the bot just catches on fire, starts smoking like crazy, and they end up finishing the fight like that. Yeah, Black Dragon was on fire for the last... Well, it caught on fire, and then it was just pluming smoke for the last 90 seconds of the match, and their weapon went down, and since Rotator basically controlled the entire match, they used the forks on their back to get under Rotator, bully them around, then whip around and hit them with their spinner. Since they were completely in control of the match, it went to the judge's decision and unanimous decision in Rotator's favor. Next up is Lucky versus Blade, and right now it's hard to tell if Blade is being overhyped or if they're just extremely unlucky. I was honestly scared seeing Lucky come out, because they had the entire front tip of their flipper removed. Just the top portion that's on top of the robot, and they had this massive, chunky, thick wedge on the front. So I was thinking they were trying to take a Hydra approach where they didn't really plan on using their weapon, they were just going to let Blade hit it and break itself. And what ended up happening is the first shot from Blade dug in and gouged a hole in that wedge, but the shock sent it flying into the corner, bounced off the wall, and a good chunk of its blade stuck into the wall and broke off, leaving Blade with half of its blade. It could still spin, but the gyroscopic forces were so off balance that it basically was useless. And then Lucky was able to drive and get Blade on top of it, flipped it a couple times, ended up flipping it on top of the screws where it was stranded. It could have gotten off. I mean, all they had to do was just spin their weapon up to get back in the playing field. But I don't know if their weapon motor died with all the violent shaking, or if they just simply chose not to spin it out and take the L, since there was really no way they can get back in this fight, as they're the type of robot that's not really designed to be a control bot. They're a bot like Valkyrie or Tombstone, where once their weapon goes down, that's basically it. Yeah, very, very unlucky fight. Lucky looked good. Again, they didn't really have to do much. Blade kind of broke itself, and they just technically got it out of arena, but it is what it is. Like I said, right now it's hard to tell if Blade has just been overhyped, or if they just have a very, very poor luck. Next fight is Dragon Slayer versus Minotaur. One thing I want to mention about this fight, before the fight actually started, they had an interview with Daniel, the driver for Minotaur, and kind of the interview was him talking about how his mother had passed away from being sick with COVID just 2 weeks prior to the filming of Battlebots, and he was still there competing. And they were fighting Dragon Slayer, who is the rookie that beat Duck. Now, for this match, Dragon Slayer claims they had upgraded everything to be stronger, but very, very shortly out of the gate, Minotaur got a couple hits in, disabled their weapon, got a couple more hits in, and that was basically the entire fight. This one did not last very long. Dragon Slayer very quickly lost by KO, which honestly isn't really that bad considering it's a rookie bot going up against borderline legendary bot at this point. So it could have been worse. They didn't get torn. They didn't get torn to shreds, so that's something. And then the next fight was Pain Train versus Yeti. Speaking of getting torn to shreds, Pain Train got torn to shreds in this match. This fight, we saw the old Yeti, the very aggressive Yeti that just likes to destroy everything. But I do have to say, for the first minute of this fight or so, Pain Train was hanging in there. They were going blow for blow. Pain Train was getting some damage in, eating away at those wheels. He was taking some hits from Yeti. They were both trading weapon-to-weapon shots. Very close match in the beginning. Then Yeti got one good shot in that ripped off the top armor of Pain Train. And then Yeti just went full berserk mode and just proceeded to destroy Pain Train and tear it to shreds. So, Pain Train has lost their second match of the season. And the Chris and Kenny and the show itself have been trying to hype up Pain Train as a robot who should be showing major improvements, considering last season was a rookie season and everything. And I honestly think they have improved. They're just getting very, very poor matches. But, you know, as things happen, hopefully his last match goes good and we can see him come back next season. Because I feel like Pain Train has the potential to be a pretty nasty robot. I mean, its drum weighs 75 pounds, so, you know. And the next fight was one of my least favorite fights. It was Hijinks versus Kraken. Kraken, very quickly out of the gate, flipped Hijinks over. So Hijinks' drive was all screwed up since the robot was upside down. It basically inverted the controls. But their blade could still spin, and Kraken just went in and took hit after hit after hit. Fight went to the judges. Hijinks never really took any damage. Kraken took a lot of damage, so the judges scored a unanimous decision in Hijinks' favor. And they showed the scorecards on screen, which they don't usually do, but the scorecards showed that basically all the control and aggression points went to Kraken, but all of the damage points went to Hijinks, and since damage is what counts the most, they went in Hijinks' favor. Though, honestly, I'm a little conflicted because generally I agree with the whole thing. If you cause damage, that's the main thing. But they never really went... To me, Hijinks didn't intentionally cause damage to Kraken. It was mostly just Kraken rushing in to stop their blade and then try to bite onto it. That's another thing. Kraken can never really get a good bite because of how slender Hijinks is. They're never really able to grab onto them and really crush them or move them around the box like Kraken is known to do. But that's just one thing that got me is, yes, Kraken came out of that fight damaged, and yes, Hijinks damaged it, but it wasn't like Hijinks intentionally damaging Kraken. Kraken was going in and basically running itself into Hijinks' weapon. Honestly, Kraken probably just could have drove circles around Hijinks, constantly dodging it, and never would have taken any damage. So yeah, they ruled in favor of Hijinks, and when they showed when they announced it, you could clearly see that the Kraken team was very, very annoyed and disappointed because basically any time it goes to the judges, 9 times out of 10 they lose a judge's decision. But again, that's just how things go. Kraken is still an amazing robot, very, very well built. Hopefully they do really well the last match. I really want to see them back in the top 32. But they might not be getting in. Then the last fight before the main event was Defender versus Riptide. In my predictions video, I mentioned that I thought Defender might lose because I got Defender and Retrograde mixed up in my head. But Defender actually did win, so hey, I was right. Defender, of course, is a control bot that is being built by... can't think of his name. the team captain of Whiplash's younger brother is the team captain for Defender. And Defender lost his first match. This was kind of two rookie bots that had similar first matches but opposites. What I mean by that is they're similar in the fact that both matches were over very quickly before we could see what the bots were due, but they both ended incredibly quickly. In Defender's case, they got quickly knocked out by Ribot. Never really got to see what Defender could do because Ribot just tore them to shreds. Then on the opposite side, you have Riptide, who got one massive hit against Huge, and Huge got its wheel stuck in the screw. They weren't able to get out, and that was the match. So we didn't really get to see what Riptide's full potential. This match, we got to see what both bots can do. One of the early hits got Riptide flipped over. And then when they were trying to get themselves flipped back over, they were basically just running themselves into the wall and everything else to try and knock themselves back upright. They actually got stranded on their side. And instead of taking the easy W, Defender went in and actually knocked them back over, back upside down. And then Riptide rammed itself into the wall of the upper deck. And this is what really kind of shocked and impressed me. That hit, it basically, Riptide's weapon smashed into the side of the upper deck, and it flew about 15 feet in the air, landed on the upper deck on its wheels, and kept functioning perfectly fine. That's pretty impressive, especially coming from a rookie bot that looks somewhat mediocre. And like when I say about that, I mean their bot doesn't look like anything special, but that's pretty impressive coming from a rookie bot. But then their weapon started slowing down, and Defender basically just took control of the match and won based on control and aggression, and the fact that they kind of disabled Riptide's weapon. Riptide's weapon just sort of died during the fight, so they weren't able to get that much damage on Defender, and Defender rightfully won the match. One thing I do want to mention is Riptide might be on something with this weapon. By having this, their weapon is incredibly powerful, and I've noticed that it's kind of a unique weapon in the fact that the spinner itself is unique. It is an egg beater. It is a hollow egg beater style spinner that's as wide as a drum spinner, which we haven't really seen anything like that before, and it definitely seems to be quite potent. And I'm really looking forward to what they can do with this in the future. And then the main event, we had Hypershock versus Lockjaw, which is kind of being hyped up as the new young buck against the grizzled veteran. You had Donald Hudson, who has been competing for like 20 years. And then you have Hypershock, Will Bells and Hypershock, who was only 4 years old when Lockjaw, Donald Hudson first started competing. So that was kind of interesting. A lot of people didn't know how to feel about this match because both bots have shown reliability issues in the past. But man, this was a heck of a fight. It was almost on par with last week's fight. Both bots trading blow for blow, very strategic, fairly similar bots, and Hypershock basically took control and just started beating the crap out of Lockjaw, and eventually knocked Lockjaw out of the arena in the door zone. This is where things get interesting, because we saw it was supposed to be a rule in Battlebots where if a robot gets knocked out of the arena, they don't want bots leaving the arena. That's why they put those sneeze guards all over the walls to keep bots from getting wedged in between that, especially bots that are on fire, because that can damage the arena. The only place they were not able to put these guards is right in front of the door, so there's that little pocket there where bots can still be punted out of the arena. And there was supposed to be a rule stating that if you hit a bot and knock them in that zone, you can be disqualified. However, we saw in the Hydra match, that didn't happen. Now, the rule does state that if it's not done intentionally, like if it's something like a uppercut versus Gemini match where he hits it in the middle of the box and it just goes careening over there. That's not intentional, you won't be disqualified, but if you intentionally flip a bot out of the arena in that manner, you could be disqualified. So going by that logic, Hydra should have been disqualified when they flipped Gruff out of the arena. But that didn't happen. And this match, Hypershock got Lockjaw in the corner, hit them, and the force of their weapon flipped Lockjaw in the air, and they landed outside of the arena. And you can see Will Bell's face. He covers his mouth and is very, very shocked and very, very worried. He clearly knows that, oh crap, I can be disqualified. And then the count out begun, and they announced Hypershock as winner. No big deal. And so people brought this up, and turns out that the Hypershock versus Lockjaw match was the first out of the arena of the season. So apparently by the time Hydra fought Gruff, it had been realized that that rule didn't really matter and it wasn't going to be enforced. But the Hypershock versus Lockjaw match, it must have still been being discussed. But yeah, Hypershock got the win against Lockjaw. Very, very good match. Hypershock is looking very, very good this season. Definitely a top 10 seed in my opinion. We'll just have to see what they do in their last match. And then the YouTube exclusive was Deep Six versus Smee. This fight was not good. Smee has made some changes. The main change that I noticed is they've made the springs for their middle wedge, which is jointed and designed to have robots kind of go into it, and the two drive pods wrap around and cut into them with their undercutters. They've made the springs on that wedge a lot looser. They're not as tight, so it's easier for them to wrap around. But it didn't really matter because Deep Six was suffering some drive problems, and their weapon couldn't actually hit Smee. The weapon didn't really have enough reach to actually hit Smee because Smee just kept running into their forks. And then eventually, this kind of happened at the same time. You had Deep Six getting one of its forks caught in the kill saw, and at that exact same moment, Smee was going around the back of it, wrapping around, and actually sniped one of its wheels and shredded it. So even if they wouldn't have got caught in the kill saws, I'm not sure if Deep Six would have still been able to drive, considering that Smee had shredded one of their wheels. And then Smee wanted to keep the fight going. In fact, before the match, Smee's team captain was even saying, I don't even care about winning. I just want to have a fun fight and see something interesting happen. And you could even hear him asking, hey, is there anything I can do? During the match, he wanted to get Deep Six unstuck so they could keep fighting. But every time that Smee would nudge Deep Six, they just kept pushing them deeper and deeper into the kill saw slot. And since they couldn't get out, they were counted out, and Smee took the victory. But Smee wanted to keep the fight going. You could hear their team captain asking Deep Six team if there's anything he could do to unstick him to keep the match going. So yeah, very, very interesting fight, but also pretty lame fight. But Smee won, so Smee got a victory. So, yeah, that pretty much concludes my review of this episode. Don't really have much else to say. And, yeah, I will see you whenever the fight card is released. I will see you with my predictions video for episode 7. Peace!